Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday. The eyes have it, and costume day we have a witch day, and I actually found my costume this time, so there you go. It's pretty good. If you see some red here, I had electrolysis yesterday, so this is blush, this is just irritated skin, so deal with that. Hi everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of our favorite time of the week, Tinfoil Tuesday, when we take a look at, you know, all sorts of conspiratorial stuff. So that's fun. Which day is it? It is, let me take a look. It's like day 10 or so. Let's see. Looks like day 10. So we still have 20 days left of costumes. We aren't even halfway there. So we have quite a few. So, ooh. Do I need a hot tub in here? Anyway, hi everyone, welcome. How's it going? Marusama, thanks for 48 months, says, woohoo! Whoa, officially 4 years. That means you've been doing this 4 years. That's nuts, I know, right? Rising of the Clockwork, thanks for 12 months, says, I'm no mathematician wizard, but I think that's a whole year. That is. Happy anniversary. Let's see what else. Phoenix Leftist, thanks for a 95 stream streak, says, wow, nice, really enjoying the streams. Thank you, thank you. Stone Corbell, thanks for 47 months, and kicking off a hype train, 75% to level 1. Stone Corbell, thanks for 75 streams in a row. Very, very nice. The witch, it's actually a whole dress. This is a whole ass dress. This is literally a Halloween costume that I wear pretty much every Halloween because it's just cute. Purple. And I get to wear this hat, which I always think is cute. Oh shit, it's under the wheels. We're good. We got it. We're fine. We're fine. So anyway, get your bingo cards ready. We are playing if you'd care to this week. And I think that's about it. If you could like the stream on YouTube, we are on a hype train. Gifted subs and subscriptions in general help the channel out a lot. You can help support the channel in its continuance through bits, through subs, through tips, whatevs. So without further ado, while we're doing this hype train, let's get into it. Because I think Eric Dubay has a new video, and boy, does it make me upsetty spaghetti. Puka, thanks for gifting 2 tier 1 subs, and Lenin Cat, thanks for gifting a sub. A little deluge of subs right there. Thank you muchly. Helps out the stream immensely. Let me adjust this real quick, actually. The window capture's all kinds of fucked up in terms of size. Oh, did the window capture actually break? Kind of funny. Hold on. I have to add a new window capture. 40% to level 2 on the hype train. Keep that going while we are fixing the window capture. Make it that one. Cool beans! And then we'll do this. Shh. Don't worry about the production side of things. This is why I need a producer. That way I can just talk and vamp instead of vamping while working on the visual thing, which makes it difficult to vamp. Ash, the Poetic Fox, thanks for 38 months, says, oh shit, 38 months, it's been like a fun time so far. I look forward to another 31 months, then I gotta stop watching. Is that the limit? 62 months? That's fair. That's actually not bad in terms of, like, keeping people viewing for a while. I'd take it. Alright, now I just need this to go into the correct layer. Getting that full bitch. Cool. We've done it, more or less. Cool beans. 80% to level 2. Unstable Deadbeat with 10 months says nothing clever to say, but thanks for the 10 months of awesomeness. Thank you for the same. CC has made multiple vids over the last week. I didn't find them very interesting, if I'm being honest. I think we watched one of them earlier in the week, and the other was just boring. But that's just me, I don't know.
Similar to how heliocentric pseudoscientists have...
One second. How's the volume on that? Seems maybe a little quiet to me.
Similar to how heliocentric pseudoscientists have changed the very definition of the word level to mean curved, they have also done the
No, level doesn't mean curved.
same thing with the words up and
Are you
down.
talking about sea level in relation to the level of the sea? Oh boy, words can have multiple meanings, Eric.
Everyone intuitively knows and can readily demonstrate.
Boy, I sure do love human intuition. I sure am glad it's never wrong. Thanks, human intuition, for being the best tool we have for observing the world.
Which way
That's sarcasm. It's bad. Intuition's great as a first step. Not the whole process. It's not even close to the whole process.
is up and which is down, just by pointing one finger to the sky and one to the ground. But globe defenders take umbrage with this simple meaning and insist otherwise. They claim the sky is not always up.
Fallacy? Saying something is simpler doesn't inherently mean it's truer. That's not how this works.
On their model, the sky is all around their globe, so there's always sky beside
The bingo command for YouTube not working again?
you,
God damn it.
and sky below you as well. Similarly, on their model, the stars aren't all above us. Instead, stars are all around us.
I mean, it's both? Like, from your perspective, the stars look like they're above you, but yes, they're also all around you in the sense that, like, on the other side of the Earth, there is also space. Yes! Moira Soma, thanks for gifting a sub and getting us over level 2 on the hype train. Standard display name, 3 Stream Streak, says today's been an ADHD emotional anger day, so thank you for the distraction. Of course.
With just as many stars beside or below us as there are above.
Thanks, normal
Merriam-Webster
trees.
defines up as being toward a higher position or place, but then further specifies, especially away from the center of the Earth. Likewise, down is defined as toward or in a lower physical position, i.e. especially toward the center of the Earth. These caveats about being toward or away from the center of the Earth are necessary additions for life on a globe. The masses have been...
I mean, it's just the reality of the situation. Again, you're putting the cart before the horse on this one. M. Scheffler with 50 bits says, hype, thank you. 1% to level 3.
been taught and now believe that up and down are simply subjective terms. So what is up
I mean, they're not they're subjective on the local level, but they have an objective meaning. It's just that you experience them subjectively, like you experience everything, because all experience is subjective.
for one person
But it means away from the center of the Earth when we're talking about everyone on Earth, which is where everyone is, unless you're on a space station right now.
can be down for another. What is up for someone at the North Pole is down for someone else at the South Pole.
Correct? Yes? I guess if you want to think about it like that, sure, but they're both down for each other, right? Because they're on different parts of the sphere. DM Trey, thank you so much for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. Really, really appreciate it. 82% to level 3.
And what is down for a third party at the equator isn't up or down, but perpendicular.
You don't understand his confusion? His confusion is he believes that up and down should be objective things that are not dependent upon your orientation. He wants them to be like platonic, objective, real things. Up is always the way I point when I'm doing this, and down is always the way that's pointed this way. But that's not how it works. But that frustrates him. It's like a lot of conspiracy theories. They're trying to simplify. They're trying to make a worldview as simple as possible based on their current political ideologies and their views of the world in general.
Sideways for the people at the poles. This is why Australia has long been dubbed the land down under, because the masses are taught and now believe that places like Australia on the southern hemisphere of their globe Earth are physically upside down with
Again, they are not upside down. They're not upside down. Relatively speaking, they might be to someone on the northern hemisphere, but they are still on the planet just as much as you are where you are. Neither is more upside down than the other. We're talking about directionality in relation to other things. It's relative. Osty Wasty, thanks for 22 months, 98% to level 3 on the hype train. Getting close.
respect to places like Europe in the northern hemisphere. That sentence will trigger knee-jerk rejection, however, because they have also been taught and now believe.
Again, like with this picture, like, yeah, sure, I guess if you, like, zoomed in on it and the camera was from that orientation, But again, we're talking about a relative direction from the perspective of the viewer, in this case, a camera. Unstable Deadbeat, thanks for gifting a sub, and Overthought with 100 bits says, up is when I feel bad after learning an old man's backstory, then I feel down. It's also not how most people talk about it. It's a language thing. Our definitions are messy and kind of subject to the context in which we are speaking, and that kind of complexity is, ooh, here's a word, anathema to the conspiratorial mindset. It's too complicated. It's got too many fuzzy edges. But the thing is, life has fuzzy edges. Things aren't usually black and white and easy. You do talk about things and have to kind of choose your words if you're discussing them this way, but instead of recognizing that as a limit on our language and sort of the subjective words we use to speak, they decide that it's part of the conspiracy, because our language isn't some perfect, objective reflection of the reality in which we live, and we kind of have to move the words around and be clear in the context to explain what we really mean. To him, that's evidence of a fraud, not just that language is a messy thing. Overthought, thanks for gifting a sub. Much appreciated. 27% to level 4. Lennon Cat with 40 bits says Australians trying to get by in their day-to-day life. And then there's a link, which I will check. Funny.
That since everything is subjective, that upside down doesn't exist.
It does exist, it's just that it's relative to your position on the Earth when we're typically talking about it. Upside down exists. It's the state of, like, being the opposite direction of whatever the other reference frame is. So you would be upside down relative to someone on the direct opposite side of the Earth, and they would be upside down to you. It's a discussion, it's a definition in relation to something else.
On the globe, everything and everyone is always right side up, and they won't hear otherwise. Even when you make it...
Yes, unless you're flipped on your head, and then most people would consider you upside down.
clear that you are speaking in relative terms of two separate perspectives with relation to each other, they rarely relent. The fact remains, though, if you believe someone at the North Pole of a globe Earth is standing right side up, and another person at the South Pole of a globe Earth is also standing right side up,
they are, because we determine right side up as relative to the center of the Earth, whether you realize it or not, whether you accept it or not. That is broadly what we are doing when we say that.
That means that relative to each other, one of them is standing upside down.
Relative to each other, both are standing upside down to the other. Not just one. What? Basically, this is another argument from incredulity. He's just like, I don't like the implications of that. Sorry, that's life.
Means that relative to the northern hemisphere, it rains upside down in the south.
But it's not, though, because it's falling down from the reference frame of where the rain is coming from, which is the clouds. So it's not really upside down unless you are viewing it from the perspective of someone on the other side of the Earth, which you can't see anyway. But if you did see from space and you had a camera or something flipped upside down so it was oriented right side up relative to one side of the Earth and then it was looking at the other, yeah, you could theoretically see that, but that's not something we wouldn't expect. That's not wrong. That's just how something looks outside of its, like, reference frame.
South. And relative to...
M. Scheffler says, people with the money save the train. 30% to level 4 with just under a minute left. Unstable Deadbeat says, hey, whoever's directly opposite to me on Earth right now, rock, paper, scissors to decide which of us is upside down. Tea with Goblins with 145 bits says, Australian here, can confirm the rain does indeed fall upwards. Wearing a skirt during the Sydney rainy season is most refreshing.
To the southern
30 seconds on the hype train, 36% to level 4.
Southern hemisphere, planes fly upside down in the north.
Again, not really, though, because the plane isn't in the north, it's in the south, and in the south it's oriented correctly based on its spatial position on the Earth. So in no way is it practically upside down. Stone Corbell, thanks for gifting a sub, 49% to level 4.
This is so conceptually absurd that...
What do you mean it's conceptually absurd? It's not. You could understand that. Everyone here could understand that, I would guess. Thank you for the hype train, everyone.
globe believers refuse to address the contradictions. And
It's not a contradiction. What do you think a contradiction is? A contradiction would be if that in some way broke down with the system that we have in place, but it doesn't. That fits perfectly into the model we have for gravity and how, like, the globe works. It's only a contradiction if you don't think gravity is real. And sorry, you're in the minority on that one.
and instead attempt to gloss them over with their mantra of upside down doesn't exist on a globe. In reality, however, everything on their tilting, wobbling, spinning spaceball Earth is upside down.
I mean, and right side up. It depends on what you're talking relative to. How do they not understand this still? The concept that you are talking about some things in relation to others.
And the only place everything could ever be right side up is on a level, stationary plane Earth, where the sky and stars are always over your head, and the ground is always under your feet. Imagine a man digging a hole straight down from the North Pole on a globe Earth. Imagine this man is immortal, immune to heat, and can dig indefinitely through anything.
Okay.
As the man continues to dig downwards for hundreds
Uses AI on the bingo card. That's an AI image for sure.
and then a few thousand miles, eventually he reaches the geometric center point of the globe. Now at this point, if the man continues to dig even a foot farther in the same direction of his same hole, globe apologists claim this
I love the term globe apologists.
man will now be digging upwards.
Correct. If in this hypothetical you could have a person that could somehow withstand the pressure and heat and all of the other factors in the Earth, that is exactly what would happen. Yes, Star Trek has actually made jokes about this because they have artificial gravity, but there's a place in the ship where they can go and it's just like the neutral area. I think Xenon Girl of the 21st Century also did that in like one of the movies. But yes. Yeah, there would be a point where you would be in the center. If you could somehow actually be in the direct center of the Earth, you would be at some sort of gravitational equilibrium. Again, you couldn't really because of the pressure and the heat. But let's say hypothetically you could. Yeah. Just thinking that's absurd because you don't see it on a day-to-day basis isn't an argument. It's just not something that happens because of the other factors. Enterprise, that's what it was. Thank you.
Then, if he continues to dig the same direction of his same hole for 3,958 more miles, they claim he will pop out feet first at the South Pole.
I mean, the second he crossed, like, the center point, he would already have the gravity, like, flipped. So it wouldn't be feet first at that point. He would have already had to experience the gravitational shift as he went out and started basically digging up from the center. It's going to happen immediately, not when you pop out.
If there was already another man standing at the South Pole when he popped out, this means the two men would be upside down relative to one another.
But the person who was digging upward, how would they be doing? Why would they be that direction? Because they've already been digging that direction. They wouldn't be that direction. Their feet would be the correct orientation. Again, it's like he thinks the second you hit like an inch under the ground, the gravity flips. Like, how does he think this works? Thanks, Baha.
From their own perspectives, they would both always feel right side up. But when the man digging the hole somehow...
No, the guy who was digging wouldn't feel right side up as he was digging towards the other side of the Earth if he's upside down, because you're describing him being upside down relative to the side of the Earth he's digging out of.
Came out feet first at the South Pole.
Like, I'm not even good at spatial stuff. I can't picture things. I have aphantasia and I get this. How does he not get this?
It would be revealed that they are and were always upside down with respect to one another. The only place up and down can have any objective meaning is on the geocentric flat Earth model.
No, it just has a meaning that you're more comfortable with on that model. That doesn't make it more realistic. You just don't understand the model that we have to exist in the real world because for some reason you don't grasp the concept.
Our Earth plane of dense matter is aptly likened to the basement of the universe, where the thick foundation becomes increasingly dense downwards for at least 8 miles, which is the farthest we have ever drilled. Above us, the sky is filled with an opposing density gradient of progressively lighter and lighter gases continuing upwards for 20 plus miles, which is the farthest balloons can reach before popping.
Yeah, that's all because of gravity.
On our Earth plane, down is the direction of density, and up is the direction of lightness.
But why would it have a vector in a specific direction? without gravity, and this guy doesn't believe in gravity, I should point out, then why is the vector pointing in a specific direction? What would be the point of that? When you calculate buoyancy, it requires the gravitational constant. That's what the g is in the buoyancy equation.
The ground will always be down, whereas the sky and luminaries will always be up, circling over and around us, unlike in the globe model, where the sky and luminaries are allegedly all around us. In reality, though,
Demonstrably all around us. Freemasons on the bingo card for that Freemason symbol.
you have never and will never see sky or luminaries below you. Rain always falls down from the same direction above.
I mean, it falls down from the direction that the clouds are, yep, which is gonna be up relative to your position, but if you're on a different position on the Earth, it wouldn't look like that if you could somehow peer at the other side of the Earth through it. You just don't. But you could go see the entire Earth from space.
And people standing in Antarctica are not upside down relative to those at the North Pole.
They are. Maybe not directly upside down, but their orientation is different. Thanks, Polly as his cracker. Oof, Eric Dubé's annoying. He's annoying in part, I think, because he's so condescending about this stuff, when in reality he understands this stuff maybe half as well as he pretends he does. Kind of strange. Okay, moving on. We have Boxy up, right? We do. Good, good. What did I want to watch next? Oh boy, this might be rough. Try this one. This is from the Cabbage Patch guy. Hey Radona, thanks for the 3-stream watch streak. The old streak is dead, long live the new streak. Cloud Wizard says, if he thinks the stars are only up, then what's below us, turtles? He just thinks it's Earth forever. Maybe not forever. He just thinks it's the ground. I don't know what he thinks. Because to my knowledge, Dubé isn't Christian. I think he's actually said stuff against Christianity. He might be into Gnosticism. I'm not sure. You've got a job for Boxy. Concerning.
Look at the state of that. Look at the state of that tape.
Hold on.
Look at the state of that tape. Some federal employee when the post office came. Can you imagine doing such shoddy work like this? You can't take a second to make things straight? Shoddy work, simps, and Western whores will be accounted by historians as the reason for the downfall of Western civilization.
What? Alright. Well, that's certainly something.
Welcome, as we continue on this exploration of identity crisis. We're nearing the end of Black History Month, and I thought that this video would be fitting. One of the #1 things that we need to tackle first is Egypt and all its implications. This video is by no means an attempt to take anything away from anyone. It's simply an opportunity to present an alternative version of history that we've not been privy to.
Oh, this is gonna be real bad, isn't it?
The only way to fight the separation and division that's happening right now is to come together and to discover more about ourselves. Let's have an open discussion. In the modern day, we have this concept of the African American.
Oh boy.
This concept that blacks were taken from Africa. This is believed by the majority of the modern population. If you were to suggest an alternative history from this, it would be seen as blasphemy. Now we're at
be seen as pretty fucking racist if you're trying to say that, like, the transatlantic slave trade didn't happen. Denial of one of the worst atrocities in human history. Not a great foot to put forward first.
point that if you're an educator and you refuse to do the Wakanda salute, you'll be fired for being a racist.
Hannah just takes a second and puts her head in her hands on the bingo card. Hannah's exasperated. Oh.
The only way we continue forward is by asking questions. There are many things that do not add up with our history, and we have to start with this concept of out of Africa.
Oh no, hold on, my dress is caught under the wheels of this. Ugh. Ah, I'm so tangled! Sorry. There's a lot of fabric.
First, we must understand that there's only two cosmologies. The materialistic cosmology of nothing, the main cosmology of the modern day education system where they teach evolution and that man came from monkeys.
Oh
Then-
no! We're just like straight up going there, huh?
There's the cosmology that is of ancient ancestry, the cosmology of something, the cosmology of a hierarchy of spiritual planes. We know these concepts such as the astral, etheric, and mental planes of existence. This idea that we came out of Africa is a concept that is connected to Darwin and evolution. It's a direct child of the cosmology of materialism. This is because they teach that all humans and races came from the missing link, or the first human.
We demonstrably do speciate from common ancestors, or a common ancestor. Like, we know that. We know that.
They're basically teaching that humans evolved from monkeys out of Africa.
We evolved from other apes. Yes, we share a common ancestor with, like, other modern apes. Yes?
This idea is a materialistic concept as it does not explain the origins of consciousness or spirit.
It's not intending to. That's not its job. Its job is to, like, it's demonstrably true. The philosophical concepts aren't there for science, right? Philosophy is philosophy. If there's something that can be falsified in a scientific sense, that's great. But if you want a why, I don't know. I don't know if science is the discipline for you. Like, if you want some deep philosophical meaning, some sort of teleological, like, reason for existence, I don't think you're gonna find it.
It creates an identity crisis. The first level is a cosmological propaganda. The next level is racial propaganda.
Oh boy.
They don't want us to know our true history. If we knew how powerful we were in the past, the more difficult it is for the elite to control civilization. Now, if you're new to this, you might think that this is complete BS.
Wait, what did I miss for overt anti-Semitism? What did I miss?
Keep an open mind, as there are many clues that hint to a history that has been entirely rewritten.
Two people said it, so I believe you. I just didn't hear it or something.
Things that we can do is to take a look at some older manuscripts.
Oh, I missed the image.
This
I
here
believe
is
you.
a map from, let's see,
Wait, let me go back. Let me look.
this complete control of civilized history. It creates an identity.
Oh! Sorry. Yep, I see it. Yep.
If you're new to this, you might think that this is complete BS. I'd keep an open mind, as there are many clues that hint to a history that has been entirely rewritten. So one of the many things that we can do is to take a look at some older manuscripts. This here is a map from, let's see,
Oh boy, famously, old maps are incredibly accurate. This should go great. Remember that time they drew California as an island?
1450. And we've used this map on other Tartarian videos and stuff because
Tartaria on the bingo card.
there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here that doesn't seem to go with the official narrative. We've brought up that there's a lot of big towers
Cites a defunct source on the bingo card for using this old map.
and architecture in Asia, and Tartary is on here as well. But what's interesting about this map is, well, first of all, it's upside down, so that's a little confusing. But there seems to be,
Man, it's almost like we live on a globe and it's all relative.
or the majority of civilization is in the east.
No, Tartaria is not Atlantis. It's Tartaria. Different thing completely.
Opposed to, like, here in Rome, there really isn't that much going on, or the buildings are much smaller. So what's going on with that? But the big point of this is, let's take a look at Africa. So if we move up to Africa, it's the same deal. We're seeing all these ginormous buildings, and seems like here's Egypt, right? But the point is that where are all these castles?
the castles denote cities and stuff. That doesn't mean it's literally what the architecture looks like. It's just supposed to, as a symbol, denote, here there be a city. Like, it doesn't... If they did little pyramids, like a European might look at it and go, what the fuck is that? They put a little castle so they know, oh, a castle. I know a castle is a city. It doesn't mean that the drawings on the map literally look like the cities, you idiot. The drawings are meant to just denote specific things. Here's a forest, here's a city, here's a monastery, here's a river. It's not supposed to be, this is what the castle looks like.
And there are many maps, you know, from 500, 600 years ago that are depicting Africa as being much more populated than we're told. So, yeah, and if you look over here, I mean, what are these big towers? Castles. So...
I'm sorry, also, is he under the impression, I just got this, does he think that these castles are, like, to scale? Like, does he think that these are, like, ginormous fucking castles because they're quite large on the map? Oh boy. Profane Priestess says, no, it's a demonstrable anthropological fact that the ancestors of modern humans lived in Africa, and that what we think of as civilization originated in the Middle East and what is now Egypt. You don't get to ignore the vast amounts of historical evidence because it conflicts with your white supremacist belief that humans are either white or, quote, savages. Hydrate.
I want to give a shout out to Autodidactic and Martin Liedke.
Autodidactic.
They really kind of...
Really showing off the competency of their self-taught knowledge, huh?
Put the stepping stones to really understanding a lot of this stuff, so go check them out. They have a lot of these books and links, and they kind of give their own opinions, but what we have right here is an illustration of some, what seems to be some Moorish figures that are dressed in some very interesting clothing. And see, here he goes, Africa. So this is an African. This is what the Africans look like 500 years.
Africa is a whole ass continent. If you take one picture, one old drawing, and say, ah, this depicts some black people in Africa, so this is what all of Africa looked like. You know what you're doing? Just racism! This is just racism! What are we doing? I also just noticed there's a mother flippin' dragon in this image! There's a fucking dragon! I was too distracted by his racism to notice the dragon! God damn it!
Years ago, and there were dragons, and this is not the only...
That actually might be a wyvern. That might be a wyvern, based on its leg situation.
Book that depicts dragons and other strange creatures in this area. This is really strange, not only for the costumes, but it seems that they're depicting massive cities that just doesn't really go with the timeline. And so there's really a lot to look at, but let's just look at a couple. This is Constantinople right here. Let's see. I mean, look at this. Look at these towers, domes. I mean, this looks like, honestly, something kind of futuristic.
Does he think Istanbul is some kind of, like, lost city that we don't have a bunch of information about? The They Might Be Giants wrote a goddamn song about it. It's not hidden. One of the fucking Assassin's Creed games takes place there.
Let's see. This one's called Ormus. That's kind of weird. And again, big cities and skyscraper type buildings. But what's more interesting is that they have some African cities on here. Morocco.
Okay, I think I'm done with racist guy. That's as much of that as I can deal with for the day. Let's take a look at the bingo card before we move on. Frustrating. Illuminati, Freemasons, Cabal. Tartaria. Hannah puts head in hands. Cites a defunct source. Racist disbelief of historical achievements. Overt anti-Semitism. Uses AI. Flat Earth. Think that's it, maybe? Okay, think we're good. Let's see what we're gonna go on now. Pagans, Perverts, Pretend People, and Sky Serpents is the name of this next video. So that should be good.
Next, I saw what looked like and it was dark.
There we go.
Tell you guys as I remember. So I was looking at the sky, and it was dark gray and red colors.
For a quick cleanse, can you look up pictures of the Alhambra and its gardens to see what exactly was going on with architecture brought from Africa to Europe 500 years back? Let's see. I can do my best. This would be my assumption is what you're trying to get me to look at. Do 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 do. Pretty.
The moon turned into a disc with 12 white or yellow lights. Next, I saw what looked like a squid in the sky.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's not bad.
The lights / disc started
The little watch mini.
moving around in the sky. So when the lights lit up, it kind of looked like a clock. Then
One of those standard clock squids, I feel you.
the squid started attacking people everywhere. Or everybody started screaming and running, trying to get away from the squid. The only way to get away from
I haven't heard from Peter in a while. I'll message him again and see what's going on. Benikagami says, we really must remember how much this conspiracy nonsense kills people's empathy. A climate denier shared a TikTok of a guy filming himself running over climate activists blocking the road, and both the driver in the vid and the climate denier laughed about it. Yeah, it's fucked up.
from this creature was to go into a room where you could only get through the door if you were born again.
And now we see this coming paganism in all different forms all around the world. And we can see evidence of this global trend. As I said, it's all around. Iceland constructed its first pagan temple in over 1,000 years, specifically to worship the old Nordic gods, Thor and Odin. Not that long ago in Greece, we had Hellenists promoting the worship of the ancient deities Zeus, Apollo, and Athena, while even a few years ago at the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, they had children writing prayers to Aphrodite or Venus, the Greco-Roman goddess of love and lust and patron goddess of prostitutes. And then you can look to Eastern Europe, where people celebrate ancient fertility rites by dancing around and jumping over fires. Customs
Okay.
from a pre-Christian past.
Pre-Christian culture? The horror!
In Russia, church leaders note with concern the growing interest in pagan traditions.
And if I trust anyone, it's people in charge of a Russian church.
In America, the fastest growing religion is witchcraft, and statues promoting Satanism
The fastest growing religion is actually no religious affiliation, so that's good.
appear on public grounds now. We see that shift taking place. And a classic example of this is in England. At Stonehenge, thousands gather at Stonehenge on the summer solstice to greet the rising sun, or sun worship, or Satan worship, really.
Satanism on the bingo card, or Satan. No, fun fact, pre-Christian rituals are not about Satan. Not everything's about you. Fun fact.
Sun gods, right? That's the devil. In Edinburgh, Scotland, performers painted as red devils entertain crowds to celebrate the ancient Celtic fire festivals of Beltane and Sam.
This is gonna be a stupid question. One sec. Stone Corbell says, fun fact, Satan is not the sun. Just thought you'd like to know. Do other religions do this to this extent? Like, I'm not talking about Abrahamic ones necessarily, and I know other religions don't have a one-to-one with, like, Satan. I know even, like, in Judaism, Satan isn't Satan, it's, like, Satan, I know. But, like, do other religions look at, like, the popularity of Christianity or other Abrahamic religions and have some internal justification for that? I guess it would depend on if those faiths are evangelical in nature. Not everyone is, but I don't know. It's just I always see Christians doing this where they're like, other people have different beliefs than me. It must be a satanic plot. Like they're incapable of recognizing that other people have different religions. You know what I mean? Sincerely? They're incapable of recognizing sincerely differently held beliefs. Just weird.
Samhain, while many gather at ancient UK sites to burn a wicker man as the Druids once did. And in America, thousands travel to Burning Man festivals, catering to uninhibited behavior resembling old pagan practices. The term pagan was initially used to describe anyone who didn't believe in the God of the Bible or follow biblical guidelines. The thoroughly pagan Greco-Roman world, given to idol worship and adopting gods and practices of other religions as if they were interchangeable, provides one ancient example. Such concepts and practices were totally at odds with biblically influenced religion. The Greeks and Romans were a mix of polytheists who worshipped many gods and goddesses, pantheists who believed that God was everywhere in nature, and what we now call atheists, worshipping no god at all.
Kagami says, isn't like early worship of Yahweh get mixed in with sun worship? I feel like the sun gets associated with God way more than Satan. Yeah, Jesus is, and like God in particular, like the Christian God, has been associated with the sun.
Such pagans
I don't know to what extent, though.
had no knowledge of the God of the Bible. The idea of one true personal God was generally foreign to them. In Greco-Roman paganism, there were few fixed ideas. Truth was relative. There was little comprehension of absolute right and wrong, and no real concept of
Oh boy. Do you think those are real? That's a shame.
sin, guilt, or judgment. Each person decided his or her own path through life, gratifying physical desires and pursuing personal happiness. Unlike the God of Scripture, the
Damn! All these people pursuing personal happiness. Don't they know they should be pursuing the happiness of the Christian God?
gods of the Greek pantheon were promiscuous. Myths abound with tales of their lust, envy, murder, and other gruesome deeds. Open sexuality and debauchery characterized many pagan ceremonies, especially the spring and midsummer fertility festivals. The worship of Aphrodite involved visits to temple prostitutes that generated revenue for the temple, which the Bible also condemns. In Greco-Roman society, fornication, homosexuality, and the sexual abuse of children was advocated by Plato and practiced by the Spartans. This was very common and accepted. Art that we would term pornography was everywhere. The Roman baths, inns, and taverns
Art that we would deem pornography?
were locations
Oh, God.
for gratifying any kind of physical desire. One reason that pagans saw biblical religion as a
Joan Corbell says, oh man, and Christian temples never used to practice their practices to generate revenue.
threat was that they feared the
Can you imagine?
Bible's teachings would basically shut down their merry dance. The Bible teaches that children are a gift from God and that they're precious in His sight. However, in the ancient pagan world, infanticide was common. Aristotle advocated killing children for population control and to eliminate malformed infants. History records the case of a
The Christian Bible has instructions on how to perform an abortion if your wife is unfaithful to you. Fun fact. Boop, boop, boo. Amber Pretzel says, alright, hold up, my guy. Do you think churches just run off the power of God alone? Someone has to pay for the utilities.
Roman citizen advising his wife that if she had a child while he was away, she should keep it if it were a boy, but kill it if it were a girl.
Necrophage, thanks for 36 months, says 36 months, 3 years, and 4 stream babies. More cheese. Thank you for the link.
The pagans of ancient Canaan and Carthage burned babies alive as sacrifices to the god Baal.
You're in remembrance of, like, the stories in the Bible where God kills children, right? Like, the 10th plague of Egypt, etc. Like, I think we're all on the same page that infanticide, bad, but I think it's a little selective the way that you're applying it, and I don't think that's fair to put all human immorality prior to Christianity on the lack of Christianity, when despite Christianity being around for a long time, people still do terrible things, many of them in the name of Jesus. So I don't think that's fair.
Hoping to receive in return rain or safe voyages, a practice the scriptures clearly have condemned. The Bible also states that human beings are made in God's image and not to kill each other. Yet in the pagan world, human life had little...
Except when he tells them to kill each other. But that's different, because he told them to. Lenin Cat says, Christian emperors in the Eastern Roman Empire used to blind and mutilate each other because they saw bodily perfection as a sign of holiness. And since the emperor was God's holy representative on earth, he had to be physically perfect.
value. Not only killing in battle, the Romans also killed for entertainment on a massive scale, and thousands of people died as crowds cheered in arenas scattered across the empire. Just a few months ago, King Charles sent out these invitations for his coronation, and take a look on the very, very bottom of that. You'll see a leafy-faced green man. I've covered the Green Man in other videos. You've probably seen
Not the Green
some
Man.
information on him before through others as well. And he's been making his own kind of re-emergence, I guess you could say, but he's been here for a long time. The Green Man was once considered a forest god to our pagan ancestors, and he wasn't just a forest god, he was also seen as the ultimate guardian of the forest. It's also really interesting to note that you can find symbolism of the Green Man in many old churches, which is really weird, since the church's goal was to stamp out paganism.
Good thing the Christian church never ever adopted any pagan imagery or traditions in order to help convert people. That never ever happened.
Among other things, anything demonic,
Ultra Undying says, hey Hannah, sending you good vibes and parasocial caring. Thank you.
anything evil. Some believed that the people that built the churches still held on to their old pagan belief systems, and still others believed that the church felt the only way to appease these old gods or devils was to give them a small honorary space of their own on the walls of their church. And yet another theory says the Green Men were included in the church's architecture as a way to show the locals that the old gods were like stone and therefore conquered by the church. But more importantly
I hadn't seen that,
is
DJ
the
Shay.
Green Man's connection to paganism. There's a theory that the Green Man was once a central figure of May Day in ancient Ireland called Beltane. It's a fire and fertility festival. Europe's Eurovision Song Contest recently took place,
You have my attention.
and in this contest we find another classic example of that rise of paganism in our world. And all of this comes to us from a young lady named Thug Bambi, I believe is her name. We've talked about Taylor Swift and some of these other Illuminati celebrities here in America performing satanic rituals on stage.
Remember when Taylor Swift got on stage and performed a bunch of satanic rituals? Almost forgot when that happened, and it was all over the news.
Right in front of their people. Remember that many people are claiming they lose their memories at these Taylor Swift concerts.
Many people claiming. Fennikagami says, oh look, Aphrodite was a vain, psycho, chaotic bitch, but she had nothing on Yahweh. You could appease Aphrodite with dedication to beauty in general, like in art. Or, you know, you could ask her family for help. But not only does God make unreasonable, insane demands to appease him, half the time it doesn't matter. Just ask Job.
Lana Del Rey's had some strange things at her concerts and rituals. Travis Scott, another example, but we're seeing...
Let's not do the Astro World thing again. That pissed me off when that happened and the conspiracy theorists got all over it.
More and more of this. But what I'm about to show you here was this performance they did at Eurovision. Definitely one of the most satanic performances I've seen.
Since ABBA, at least.
Straight up ritual right on stage.
Tonight the Super Satan's lights are gonna find...
So check some of this out.
Special? Do you know what makes me special? I'm a queer. And I'm a witch! Be burying the ground and truest strings I bind your bound, so when you sink you'll hear my sound.
So this is a pretty clear intentional vibe they're going for. I apologize, I think someone said they were non-binary. I apologize if I misgendered them. Do people really not get this? Do Christians really look at this and not understand that they're leaning super hard into this intentionally? Like, this is the vibe, this is their aesthetic, is witchy, sort of fey, satanic. Be like looking at Kiss and going, ah, evil, like that's the point. Or like Slipknot, that's the point. Or Alice Cooper, that's the point. I'm a little worried. I'm gonna skip just because I don't know how big Eurovision is on letting people use clips, so.
Out this interview with this lady.
Guar, another good example.
And just hear it straight from her mouth.
They literally do look at Kiss and Alex Cooper and say that, though. Like, these people's parents did. Like, Kiss and Alex Cooper were decades ago in their height of popularity. Should have learned better by now.
She is a professed witch, confessing witch, and she is performing rituals and spells. At the same time, just think of the millions and millions of eyes that are on this concert, were on it, or ultimately will be as they continue to watch these things. And they partake in these rituals unknowingly. What kind of spell's being cast on you? You don't even know.
Witchcraft is kind of a big part of your life, isn't it? You know? So what does that journey look like? Was there a out of world moment, or was there a specific moment that made you want to pursue witchcraft, or did it come to you? Like, again, please enlighten me as much as you can.
So I'm Irish, so our heritage before Catholicism and everything was pagan. So I think it's like in my blood quite a bit. And as a kid living in the countryside, I would always make potions. If I was in trouble, I would run across the road to the...
Cool, so they have kind of like like I said, like a fae almost, like old-timey druid thing going on. That's fun. That's a nice aesthetic.
Forest and go and talk to the trees. I kind of lost my tie to it, I think, for a little while when I was in secondary school, because I went to like a Catholic convent school, and I was a Protestant in the Catholic school. So when I came to London, I lived in Muswell Hill, and I made friends.
Thanks, Strange Experiment. This is actually a full-on witch costume. We're doing a costume month. People voted on a witch.
Very witchy ladies, and
appropriate for this video.
Kind of got back into it with them, and they introduced me to this woman, Valerie.
Ultra Undying says, where was this person when Lordy was in Eurovision? Sorry if I mispronounced that. That's a pretty cool band. Oh my god, the belt buckle looks like the Book of the Dead. Oh, you guys can't see this. Sorry, let me put it in the correct window so you can. belt buckle looks like the, why am I blanking? Necronomicon Ex Mortis. There you go.
Who actually made the puppets for the film Labyrinth, and we would
I'll put a spell on you because you're mine. Honestly, that scene from Hocus Pocus is fucking incredible.
meet at her house.
If I was ever gonna do like something on stage that was just really over the top and camp, it would be that. I'd want to redo that put a spell on you song. Penikagami says, I'm so sick of controlling assholes sticking their noses into crap that's none of their business. Do you not want the responsibility or to be involved? Shut up and go away. Sorry, going through family stuff. No, get it out. That's fine.
For full moon meetings.
Don't fuck with the Fae. What if I have particular proclivities that make that difficult?
And we would chat magic and
Say the words. Klaatu Varana Niktu.
meditate and drink wine. And then I met this amazing woman called Julie Anderson. I was playing in the Vintage Shop in Muswell Hill, I would do performances there. Then Julie came up to me and she was just like, we need to know each other. And basically was saying that I'm like a healer witch. And yeah, since then she's kind of become like a spiritual mentor, like my mother away from home.
Right.
I always call her my witch mom and she hates it because she's like, I'm not your mother. I'm like, you are my mother. And she's nurtured my witchcraft a lot. We have a rowan tree. She has a rowan tree for me in her garden, and rowan trees are what witches used to make their wands out of, and use bits of the wood for spells and things. And she does tarot with me. She does I Ching. Yeah, I have.
No offense to them, but I find this interview not super exciting after. Oh, it was done in a sec anyway.
In song contest, you may remember
Wanted to get back to the cuckoo guy.
this right here from Madonna. Look at all that symbolism. Got the X.
Damn, no one ever uses symbolism on stage. It must be evil. Spurious symbology is evidence on the bingo card.
She had the X before the X was a thing in this system, right? But I covered this long ago. Other people
Sorry, do you think they invented the letter X?
have covered it, I'm sure. But in this, you're seeing everything that's coming with the fake vaccines, the death of the Christians, nuclear annihilation, all
Oh, he believes in nuclear weapons. That's good, at least.
of it. All that and more is taking place on the stage here with Madonna. Certainly, she is, a high-level Luciferian, which when she dies isn't going to matter. They're all going to suffer the same fate. Satan uses these people. I believe he lies to them. That's why maybe they're convinced they can do this kind of stuff, get away with it.
That's so wild to me. If I believed in an afterlife, and I don't, but if I did, I wouldn't wish ill on, people I don't like. Isn't that weird? It feels like a lot of these conspiracy people I listen to and we watch, and they're like, in the end, you'll all burn and suffer and blah, 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 whatever. If I had control, I don't know if anyone's seen The Good Place, and I don't want to spoil The Good Place, but, the system they came up with at the end of The Good Place seemed pretty good, right? I don't know. I would never want to put someone in eternal torment or pain for any reason, and these people just seem, super into it, and it's weird. Why do you want to wish suffering on people? That's not good. Madonna isn't that old. Isn't Madonna, let me think for a second. 60-something? Right? Madonna's in her 60s. I know she's, relatively not old, but, for a pop singer, she's pretty old. 65? Yeah. That used to be considered over the hill. I remember my grandpa's 60th birthday when I was a kid. He's still alive. He's in his upper 80s now, mid-80s. Oh. Anyway. What about Super Saiyan 2 Hitler? What the fuck?
and then when they die, when their soul is
Lennon Cat says, if you're an old Irish High King, you kinda had to fuck with the Fae. Celtic cultures had a fairly unique concept called sovereignty goddesses, who's the physical embodiment of the territory, so the king married her to be considered the rightful ruler of the land. Like some kind of druidic divine right of kings, except instead of the Christian god, it's the literal female spirit of the land that you rule. Interesting.
released, that it won't be a hell situation. Maybe they get to reign down there with them, or it's going to be a party, who knows.
Or other people aren't worshipping Satan and it's all just in your head. Isn't that the scariest option for you? That you're making all of this up and you've wasted your life worrying about things that aren't real? Spooky.
How these people are convinced to be so wicked and to do these kinds of things, but Madonna is certainly one of them. And speaking of her, she actually just did a free concert in Brazil, and then right around that time, right after the concert, they had massive flooding and massive storms once again, and this harkens back
Correlation doesn't equal causation on the bingo card?
to the festival we saw in Rio maybe a year ago or so. Same thing. It was a festival. They were whipping Jesus in this festival. There's tons of demons and the devil.
Are you talking about the people who recreate the crucifixion? Because that's like an incredibly religious thing. That's not satanic, that's Christian. Is he talking about the festival where they recreate the crucifixion? Because that is not satanic. That is a Christian thing.
Floats were all throughout this festival. And then right after, they had that massive storm and massive flooding and a lot of loss of life. Interesting how these things happen. With the same, look at that. You see the Statue of Liberty. New York City is going to be destroyed. We know.
Oh boy, can you imagine the Statue of Liberty being used in pop culture to reference the destruction of the Earth or the current civilization? Who would ever do that? Cough, cough, Rod Serling, Planet of the Apes. Cough, cough, spoilers for a movie that's like 50 years old.
Know that. It's a new.
You maniacs! You finally did it! You blow it up!
Coming from New York. And then there's all the nuclear destruction. But the same thing happened with the concert in Brazil with Madonna. She did her free concert, and then right after...
Oh, I did forget that part. Damn you all to hell!
Followed destruction, so check this out.
Well, pop icon Madonna has given a historic performance for a huge crowd of fans at Brazil's famous Copacabana beach. Now,
at the Copacabana,
the pop icon
da 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 da, something elevator music at the Copacabana.
pulled out all.
Why is my brain the brain of like a 60-year-old, but in the body of someone who's 30? I feel like my references shouldn't be as old as this. What is wrong with me?
All the stops with dozens of costumes and set changes as she sang hits from her 40-year career. The concert was the crowning touch to her worldwide celebration tour.
It was the biggest concert of her career, as Madonna performed to an estimated 1.6 million fans on Brazil's iconic Copacabana beach. The free event was both a thank you to her fans and the...
I'm gonna skip again. I'm worried about the music.
Clearly, we see this rise of paganism, and it makes sense to
Oh god, are they gonna do the demon face thing? Oh, hell.
us. Those of us that are with Jesus, we understand what we're seeing right here. But
it's the Blu-ray collection. It's too far back. Hannah's too cultured. Honestly, my Blu-ray collection, not to brag. No, I'll brag. That's fine. Hannah mentions Blu-rays. If you look at my collection, which I'll log into. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Stop it. Get some help. I already logged in, goddammit. If you look at the years my stuff came out, it's honestly not too bad. It is a lot of recent stuff as well as older stuff. Things want to load. Doesn't want to right now.
Not just the rise in paganism. All this stuff is really connected, and I showed you some information on this right here in a recent video.
There it is. This is my films by year. It peaks in 1989. 1989 is the year I have the most films from. But from then on, it's pretty even. Pretty good. So, that's the spread on the number of films I own and what year they came out. Just putting it out there.
Demon face syndrome that the media is trying to put out there. There's a demon face syndrome. Well, we know what this is. The veil's lifting and all things are being revealed, even these creatures amongst us. On that note, I want to show you a little compilation I pulled together. And all of these are fairly recent stories of people having some very strange experiences with other human beings. Or are they? Check this out.
I know I look crazy, but not crazier than what I'm about to say. Those TikToks of people talking about they seen people with black eyes. One lady saw that black eyed man in the grocery store, and then another man I just saw said that he saw somebody walking behind him with black eyes.
I'm not big on, like, I don't know. I would like this kind of content to stop. Like, TikTok, I don't think TikTok should be banned for the reasons that have been provided. It seems like a pretty, like, obvious bullshit thing that they're doing because, well, I'm not going to get into it. But the banning of TikTok, the justification that Congress gave, seems pretty bullshitty. But either way, I am going to say it's the biggest proliferator of this kind of bullshit. Just baseless videos where people are trying to get attention, so they make up a story and then it goes viral and 30,000 other people do the same thing. Real bad for this, so.
Encountered the same type of experience, not once, but multiple times. Before I even go into
I have only heard the demon face thing from conspiracy theorists. It was posted about whenever that, like, actual public interest story was a few months ago, but I've only heard it repeated by conspiracy theorists.
Telling a story that I want y'all to know that these are demons, and demons do possess people.
They don't. Demons aren't real. We have no evidence of demons ever existing, ever.
Period. Y'all know I used to work as a spicy dancer, and I was in a club one time. It's normal to have creepy guys kind of follow you around because they want to dance or want to buy you a drink or...
Ma'am, I promise you, the men who harassed you at work were not demons. They were just dudes being assholes.
You know, whatever. I'm not thinking too much of it, but after seeing this dude kind of creepily follow me around, I finally sit down with him at the bar, and we're having a drink, and we're talking, and I noticed he was doing a constant, like, sign on my leg. Like, he did it like 3 or 4 times. And even though at the time I wasn't spiritually that sensitive because I was doing so wrong, I'm like, what are you doing?
She needs fucking help.
My discernment went off, and it wasn't even strong then.
Did you start seeing these demonic things around the age of 25? Because if around the age of 25 you start getting really into demons and seeing supernatural things, I would probably talk to a professional, because that's around the age that schizophrenia starts to show up. I'm not saying this is any kind of joke. I want to put this information out there. I see it with conspiracy theorists. If you have a friend or family member, or you yourself, around the age of 25, start seeing or hearing, more likely, things that don't seem to be there, things that are outside of your normal worldview, probably get some help.
And I basically was like, he's trying to curse me. And I tell y'all, I looked him dead in his face, and I said,
oh, sorry, I missed a tip I got earlier. Let me go find that. Green Guy with a $3 super chat, or a $3 tip, says, Hannah, I learned that storm spinning proves the Earth is round and spinning counterclock in the northern hemisphere, clockwise in the southern. The Coriolis effect. That's what that's called.
When I tell you his eyes went pitch black. Now, I'm not talking about, no, I thought I saw it. No. Eyes went pitch black. He pulled his shirt down, and he had literally a Satanist tattoo right on his chest. I got so scared, I knocked my drink over, and I kind of held my composure. But when I tell you I was shaking, he laughed, and I got up, and I walked away. Demons are real. They are out here. They will try to target you. They will try to scare you. People don't believe you when you say you see these things, but these things are...
This shouldn't, like, I have such a hard time being like, let me put it this way. I wouldn't make anything like this illegal, because I think you have a First Amendment right. If I was running an app, videos like this would be banned. Videos where you're just making baseless supernatural claims like this to clearly stoke views, or maybe you're actually, like, ill. This shit would get banned, because this is not good for anyone. This doesn't help anyone. All this is going to do is spread hysteria to conspiracy theorists and mentally ill people. What a nightmare. GamerG says, if demon face isn't real, then explain this famous phenomenon millions have seen. See what the punchline is here.
Are real. I want y'all to know this. The spiritual realm is more gangster than the physical, okay? And once you realize that,
the spiritual realm is more gangster than the physical. All right.
You will never ever think it's a hallucination or you just heard something. Time is dwindling down into the rapture, and God not playing. So seeing these things daily is going to start happening, because that thin line between the physical realm and the spiritual realm is thinning out, like super much. So y'all just stay prayed up for real. I love y'all. So
stay prayed up.
Listen up, y'all. There are beings that is walking this earth, and they are not human. I just came from Kroger's. I just got off of work.
Kroger, not Kroger's.
I went to go pick up a few items, y'all. I go to the bread aisle. Now, the bread aisle is super long. I'm at one end of the bread aisle. There's a guy that's about 3/4 of the way down in the bread aisle. He got a cart, I got a cart. He's looking at me. And you know how you can see out your peripheral that somebody's staring at you. He ain't just looking, but he's staring at me. I kind of look his way. He's still staring. I go ahead and I get my bread. I go back around the other way because I'm going to the international aisle to get some pasta and some other stuff. While I'm in the international aisle at one end, this guy comes around and he's at the top of the same aisle. I see him still looking at me. Now, mind you, there's a couple of things that I need.
With TikTok, it's always hard for me because I'm trying to gauge, is this craziness or a cry for attention? Because there are people who actually believe these things, but then it's also TikTok, an economy of attention in which you have to say outrageous things that are clickable and shareable. So I don't know. Let's move on.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another video. Today we're going to be talking about who won the war, and our focus is going to be on the end of the Revolutionary War and this period of the 1780s in the United States, because there's some interesting artifacts that I want to have a look at, so let's get into it. Now, this period of the 1780s that we're going to be looking at is referred to as the Confederation period, and it's just the era in United States history after the American Revolution and prior to the ratification of the United States Constitution.
Yes, because this is when we were governed under the Articles of Confederation, which was, you could think of it almost as America's first constitution. It was a system that didn't work very well. The states were more a loose confederation that vaguely worked together, but it didn't work out, which is why they redid it and wrote the Constitution, which was ratified in 1789, I want to say, which gave stronger federal control over things like money, trade, interstate trade, stuff like that. Dillis Filler says, fundamentalist Christians assume others' use of symbols are literal or at least in opposition to them. They're not interested in engaging with art or culture of other people because that's hard. They use They thus slander strong figures like Madonna, a feminist who portrays herself with sexuality and eroticism and refuses to be ashamed, who uses Christian symbols as criticism and to discuss her own identity as a Catholic woman, trying to find a place in her faith despite the bigotry inside of it. Yeah, that's something they concretize symbols. I've talked about this before, but conspiracy theorists have a big problem, and they believe that symbols always mean what they think they mean. They don't understand that there is a difference between a symbol and that which it symbolizes, and the connection is tenuous and based upon your internal beliefs and understanding of the two things, right? And that's subjectively different for each person. So what I think of when I see, I don't know, a compass, right? I have certain cultural and individual connotations that I will put on the image of a compass, right? Maybe I'll think about exploration. Maybe I'll think about pirates. Maybe I'll think about, personally, Power Rangers Operation Overdrive. You know what I mean? We all have our own specific things. But in reality, those things are all internal that we've learned through culture or personal experience. In reality, this is just a compass. What you bring to it is from you. Conspiracy theorists don't understand that. They think that all the connotations that they have about certain symbols exist within the symbols themselves. So they don't understand that other people could utilize symbols differently than they interpret them. It's interesting. Very interesting. It's unfortunate, and it's one of the reasons I think they're incredibly malfunctioning, because, like, you can't operate in the human world without a basic understanding of symbolism, because we use symbols all the time, everywhere, constantly. If your messaging system for symbols is fucked up, the world's gonna be a really confusing place, and you're gonna fill it with a lot of nonsense theories to try and understand what to you is inexplicable, because you can't receive the communications being sent out through symbols in society.
In the late 1780s. So it's this small window of time, primarily in the 1780s. Now, I came across a really interesting book talking about the forgotten coins of North American colonies. It just tells a story of a lot of really unique and interesting coins with murky histories. And speaking of these murky histories, after the independence of the 13 colonies, some of these states had permission to mint some of their own coins, and you had some really interesting designs showing up, and this is from Connecticut from 1785 to 1788. But you had these imitations almost of the British halfpenny, and you would see a man wearing a laurel wreath and sometimes armor. The likenesses were typically of George II or George III. It's just interesting because, again, you just got your independence after the Treaty of Paris in 1783.
Celebrate Booba. Thanks for following, by the way.
And you're producing coins to some degree almost honoring that other king. So interesting.
Do you understand that, like, after the war, let me put it this way, the minting of coinage is a whole fucking problem in and of itself, and if you want to create new currency, then you need to get someone to make the design for that currency, and then put that on a machine to actually press the currency. Not a small task. So especially directly after a conflict like that, you got a lot of stuff going on, you're trying to set up your independent government. I don't know if the coinage is the first thing you're going to change.
1787, Vermont.
Probably work on it eventually and then get it through circulation, but it doesn't matter because we federalized the currency in 1789 anyway.
Very unique coins as well. And in New York, there are these coins that go by the Latinized name for New York, Nova Iborak coins. And
these are cool, by the way. If I was ever, like, I used to collect coins. I have some, not so much anymore. I had to sell them a bunch when I was poor, which was a shame. But I like coins. They're neat. These would be interesting to own if you saw them at like a coin shop. Different states' coins from before we federalized our currency. Seems neat.
A likeness, I believe, of George II on this one. So just really interesting. And the coins were made to look like contemporary British and Connecticut coppers. So just, you know, when you think about in 1783, General Washington They entered New York City after the British finally evacuated. But this period of time after that, they're pumping out these coins that seem to almost honor that king. And I find it very interesting because when you come across this particular coin or token that was circulating in the 1780s in the United States, it also seems to point to King George III. And it's referred to as this Georgius Triumpho token from 1783, the first George Washington token. And these were struck in England, but they were found in the United States. And the Latin term is for George the Victorious. And you can see the likeness of what is King George III. And what I want to point out here is these coins, these Virginia halfpennies from 1773. So prior to the Declaration of Independence in 1776, you had these coins floating around the colonies, and there were, I believe, 120 specimens recovered from Williamsburg during archaeological digs, and these are clearly King George III coins. And just another tidbit about these Virginia halfpennies that I found interesting is even though the colony of Virginia was granted the authority to mint coinage all the way back by decree of Royal Charter in 1609, they didn't actually exercise that authority until 164 years later in 1773. So there's like this nexus point of a lot of interesting coins in the 1770s and 1780s. But where I'm going with this,
I assume they didn't feel the need to start minting their own currency until it became clear that tensions between the colonists and the UK were heating up. Which 1773? Yep, that's about when stuff's gonna start getting... I get it.
Just wanted to point out on the left you have the George the Victorious coins from 1783 after the Declaration of Independence and after the Revolutionary War. And then on the right you had those Virginia halfpennies from a decade earlier, clearly showing King George III, and it's an almost identical likeness. And just
I mean, did they just take the same molds and adjust them? Because it kind of seems like they probably took the molds and adjusted them.
Little blurb talking about the George the Victorious coin. The imitation of the George III obverse is so close that at first glance it is not evident which George is referred to, whether it's George Washington or George the King of England. Frequently it is suggested this coin was intended to have a double meaning. So these coins are just really interesting to me, and I guess the speculation here is maybe King George III was
dies, not molds.
Actually the victorious one and not George Washington. But a lot of these coins are turning up in Florida as well here. This one I believe was from St. Augustine, and there was another one I saw found in Jacksonville, Florida as well. But the history of George Washington, it's very interesting, and I believe he died, according to the official history, 1799, and then a year later you had...
I've seen George Washington's grave. Not as nice as you would think.
First biography of Washington.
Just on his property.
Written in 1800 by Mason Locke Weems, also known as Parson Weems. And this particular individual, Mason Locke Weems, he was apparently a clergyman for the parish church which George Washington attended before going on to become a bookseller. So just a little bit of a backstory, and when you look into some of the biography of George Washington, of course, there's the infamous cutting down of a cherry tree. And according to this article, they were just mentioning how when the biography of George Washington was first published in 1800, it didn't actually have this particular story in it. The cherry tree myth did not appear until the book's 5th edition, published in 1806. So just a little bit of a backstory. And
yeah, was he under the impression that was real?
You know, when I look,
it's like a story you'd tell children. It's like a civic mythology almost.
At a lot of these artifacts, these tobacco clay pipes that I've talked about, there are some of these.
All right. I'm done with him. Let's see what's next. At this point, he's literally just droning on. How about some super soldier stuff? We haven't seen them in a while. This is the coronation painting. Let me take a look. Oh, that's a bad one. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Also, butterfly.
Since the fall of Atlantis, Satan and his minions have been working tirelessly to end all goodness on this planet.
Satanic and Atlantis on the bingo card.
But God and the Brotherhood of Light have put together their own plan to defeat the dark side. Throughout history, many prophets have come forth to speak of the coming golden age of humanity. This truth was made known only to fall silent on the deaf ears of the ignorant masses, but change is on the horizon. By the time of the Renaissance, humanity had begun to rise from its slumber. Slowly, mysticism and superstition began to be replaced with science and logic. It is here 400 years ago, at the height of Tudor England, where this story begins.
This is the main super soldier talk guy that wrote this.
A secret marriage was arranged between Queen Elizabeth I and Sir Robert Dudley. Due to Dudley's political ambitions, the Queen chose to maintain her Virgin Queen status. From this marriage came forth Francis Bacon, who was raised by an adopted family. At the age of 15, while his parents were arguing, he overheard the truth, that he was the future heir of the King of England. All his life, the Queen kept dangling in front of him the mantle of power. To be or not to be, that was his question. Alas, it was not to be. In 1603, Queen Elizabeth appointed King James VI of Scotland to be her successor. Instead of letting this defeat him, Francis chose to rise above his circumstances in the pursuit of scholarly and political interests. He had the King James Bible translated. He wrote the Shakespearean sonnets.
Did he just say Francis Bacon wrote Shakespeare's sonnets? I wondered when he threw out the to be or not to be line if he was going to do the Shakespeare trutherism stuff. I hate William Shakespeare conspiracy theories. It's all just classist fucking bullshit. It's so obnoxious. I hate it. Stephen J. Neptune Man says, you ever notice when conspiracy theories talk about Satan controlling the earth, it's never through actual horrible things like genocide or children being harmed or murder, but like the kids are being turned trans and they're trying to convince you that the earth isn't flat? They consider those things to be evil.
He persuaded King James I to charter Newfoundland and was an officer in the Virginia Company. He was King James's Lord Chancellor, and he fathered deductive reasoning, which set the grounds for science and technology to liberate humanity. Secretly, he was a master of the alchemical sciences and the occult. It was here that he began to remember his
alchemy
past lives as the prophet Samuel, Plato, St. Joseph, Merlin, Roger Bacon, and Christopher Columbus.
Oh! That's a mixed bag of former identities. Oh, Jesus Christ. Reincarnation on the bingo card. Oh boy.
When he was the
some hits in there. Some hits. Some misses. Some misses with Columbus in particular. Oh, God.
Prophet Samuel, he helped liberate the children of Abraham from the bondage of corrupt priests and the Philistines. In the 5th century, while Europe was falling into the Dark Ages, he returned again as Merlin to help King Arthur establish Britain into a stronghold against ignorance and superstition, a place where Christ's achievement could flower, and devotion to the one source could prosper in the quest for the Holy Grail.
Reincarnation is an interesting concept. Thought that too, but then the more I think about it, the more I'm like, what does it even mean to be reincarnated if you don't have memories of your former lives? In what way are you still the same person? You're not.
It was later in the 19th...
And that's not even talking about the lack of evidence for it. It's just, even as like a fantasy thing, I'm just like, I don't know, how is it me? I don't have any of the memories, so in what way?
century when his efforts blossomed.
Like, I'd argue if I hit my head and it was like cartoon style and I genuinely lost all my memories, am I even the same person then? I don't know. Penekagami says, here we go. 3 years ago, my grandma can't live on her own anymore, and her only request for moving in was to keep her dog. Some of my aunts and uncles pulled rank, and she moved in with the parents of my trans cousin, whom these folks don't affirm, who've said they refuse to change their active lifestyle with Gran's presence and refuse to let the dog stay with them. Another aunt would have been a better fit and let keep the dog, but her siblings don't trust her because she's bipolar. Ooh.
When the United Kingdom became a place where industry and individual initiative could thrive as never before in 12,000 years. As the medieval alchemist Roger Bacon, he predicted the invention of a hot air balloon, a flying machine, a magnifying glass, and mechanically propelled ships and carriages, and amazingly, he wrote of them as if he had actually seen them.
You could say literally the same thing about, like, Jules Verne. Jules Verne wrote fiction about machines that wouldn't exist for years and years later. That doesn't make them magic. It doesn't mean they've seen the future. People get it right sometimes. Sometimes because they're incredibly creative, sometimes because of happenstance, sometimes a mix of both.
He believed true knowledge stems not from the authority of others, nor from a blind allegiance to antiquated dogmas, but instead is a highly personal experience, a light that is communicated only to the innermost privacy of the individual through the impartial channels of all knowledge and of all thought.
Roger Bacon was more likely describing an Arabic prototype of a telescope?
Because of the heretical nature of these beliefs, the church imprisoned him, where he remained for his final years. In his Opus Magus, he wrote of a voyage of 3 ships and a discovery of a new world. The sea between the end of Spain on the west and the beginning of India on the east is navigable in a very few days if the wind is favorable.
Okay, but that turned out not to be true, though. Like, the idea, like, Columbus didn't invent the concept of trying to find a west passage to the Indies. Like, that was something people had already speculated about, but they thought that you couldn't get there because the Earth was too big, and they didn't think there was a whole other set of continents over there that you could stop and resupply or anything. The concept of going around the Earth predates Columbus. It's just they thought it wasn't feasible because of the size of the Earth, and they weren't sure, and you didn't want to go out and fucking die in the middle of the ocean, because that's not fun.
In his next life as Christopher Columbus, he was inspired by these words, and along with a prophecy made by Isaiah, he knew a new world.
I didn't bring it up, but he did reference Merlin and King Arthur like they were real people. So there's that.
Would be found, whereby God would recover the remnant of his people, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the 4 corners of the earth. Isaiah 11:12. When Francis Bacon became conscious of these incarnations, he sought those hidden treasures he placed away until his rebirth.
This feels like the plot of an Assassin's Creed game. Chitara says, funny thing is that those people back then didn't think the Earth was flat either. Correct. Dimensions beyond our own? No.
At the age of 12, Francis conceived of a time when mankind would go through a period of great restoration. In 1620, he placed this vision for humanity in his book, The Great Instauration, in which he formalized how to change the whole wide world through the restoration of true knowledge after centuries of obscurity and neglect. It was here that he first devised a scientific method that ultimately launched a new English Renaissance. Many of his ideas were kept in the shroud of secret societies in order to hide from the prying eyes of church officials. With help from his brother Anthony and some friends who were students at Gray's Inn Law School, they created a secret society known as the Knights of the Helmet. They chose this name from the goddess Athena, who was depicted as wearing Pele's helmet of invisibility and carrying a golden spear of knowledge. The goddess Athena brings about wisdom, intellect, and the moral side
I didn't hear that, Harold Elbelman.
of human life. Athena's helmet of invisibility represents her silent war against ignorance and sloth. The Knights of the Helmet also consider themselves...
Do you think magic is real? Oh yeah, this is a super soldier guy. He's the super soldier guy. He thinks everything's real. Sci-fi, magic, basically the Marvel universe.
Invisible warriors against ignorance and sloth, as they secretly worked to expand the English language by creating new literatures not written in Latin, but instead in words all Englishmen could understand, such as found within the King James Bible.
And that worked out great for everyone. When has the King James Bible ever been used for wrong?
In 1611, the King James edition of the Bible was commissioned in order to unite the Anglican and Puritan church leaders. After a long series of edits by nondescript translators, the final draft was handed to King James, who then passed it on to Francis Bacon so that he could revise the Bible into a marvelous piece of literary work which is still being used today. Many of these works were written anonymously under pen names such as William Shakespeare.
God damn it! Shakespeare was a guy! He fucking lived and wrote plays and sonnets. God damn it. He's real! William Shakespeare's a real person who lived! Stop it! Get some help! Stop trying to remove Shakespeare from history! I don't like iambic pentameter either, but here we are. He's one of the most important authors in the Western canon. Leave him be.
Because the goddess Athena was known to carry a golden spear of knowledge, which she would use to strike at the serpent of ignorance. When sunlight would strike her spear, it was known to tremble. Thus the people would say she was shaking her spear again.
William Shakespeare is the Roger Corman of early English theater. Fucking true. Also, Roger Corman died this last week. So, rest in peace to a fucking real one. Thanks for all the fun movies, Roger Corman. You were awesome. He was like 98 years old. What a life.
Hence the word Shakespeare. In a symbolic gesture, Francis would shake his pen as a spear of knowledge to slay the dragons of foolishness. Written within the Shakespearean plays is a hidden cipher which shows Francis Bacon not only as the true heir of the King of England, but also of Queen Elizabeth's secret marriage to the Earl of Leicester and her preceding two sons. For upon his birth, Francis Bacon was given over to Sir Nicholas and Lady Anne, who pleaded with the Queen for the life of the child. Queen Elizabeth rejected her son because she feared her subjects would choose a male heir.
Oh my god, that fucking Roland Emmerich movie. For those who don't know, there's a Roland Emmerich movie called Anonymous that's all about Shakespeare not being real, or, you know, him not writing the plays. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Herself to rule the kingdom. Some historical documents hint of the secret marriage and her two children, such as found within this portrait. However, any talk of this during the time of Queen Elizabeth would have resulted in imprisonment or death. After a happy childhood spent with Sir Nicholas and Lady Anne, on his 12th birthday, he was enrolled in Cambridge University. Mysteriously, Queen Elizabeth provided the funds for his education. At the age of 15, he discovered the true identity of his royal blood, so Queen Elizabeth sent Francis abroad to France, placing him at a comfortable distance from her throne. While in France, he studied cipher codes to learn new ways to protect confidential information in England, and he also worked with Masonic secret societies which sought to reform the French language. 3 years later, upon his return to England, he brought back these same ideas and created a secret society known as the Knights of the Helmet, which through their literary works would ultimately
I'm telling you, the Knights of the Helmet sounds like a parody.
modernize the English language.
Like a name you would come up as a joke for a secret organization. The Knights of the Helmet!
By standardizing the spelling of words. The Knights of the Helmet was part of a larger movement of secret societies found within Rosicrucian teachings, which dated back to the time of Atlantis. The Rosicrucians were a loose-knit group of secret societies which believed knowledge or wisdom was eternal and should be freely available to those who seek it.
Royal Ann with a $5 super chat on YouTube says, if Bacon was Shakespeare, did he use a computer? They did so much.
Just like with the Knights of the Helmet, the Rosicrucian secret society was also part of this movement. The Rosicrucian is shorthand.
Does he have any proof? No. The story is the proof. To a conspiracy theorist, if the story makes your brain go brr, then it's a true story.
for the Society of the Golden and Rosy Cross, which was founded in 1571 to protect Queen Elizabeth after she was excommunicated by the Pope. And secretly, they sought to bring about universal enlightenment through the use of the alchemical process. The Golden Cross symbolized the transmutation of the base elements into spiritual light. The red cross symbolized the heraldic color of the metal gold. These colors were often associated with Saint George and Archangel Michael. And the
Archangel?
rose symbolized
Gotta love those archangels.
the heart of the cross, where one could find love, intelligence, and enlightenment within the human soul. Just like with Athena's helmet of invisibility, members of the Rosicrucians would make silent oaths under the principle of sub rosa, or beneath the rose. They believed it was best to be discreet and conceal some things, while revealing others, in order to create a treasure trail to those who seek truth.
A treasure trail, you say?
And as Athena would shake her spear at the snakes of ignorance, so could St. George shake his spear at the dragons of light.
Okay, I'm done. My brain is going numb at this point from that, so let's move on before I fall asleep. He could drone on, and I wouldn't know any more about European history. Do another flat earth one. He keeps saying these guys did a lot of things secretly, but he seems to know an awful lot about these things. Secret things are the easiest things to know, because you can just say they happened. Was Sub Rosa the TNG episode where the ghost fucked Beverly and her grandmother? Not in that order. Hello, John Oates Mustache. How's it going? Does this not want to load? Please load. I'd appreciate it. Okay, apparently that's decided it doesn't want to be played. So it won't be. Oh, the mono does not want to work there either. Sorry about that. Good.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second of the double feature live.
Yeah, we watched the Temporal Civil War video. He's an interesting fella.
Live stream for the week for the Restitutor Orbis channel concerning weather control. And let's see what we've got up there. Hey,
Weather control on the bingo card. Standard display name says, my sister is pregnant again and we just found out it's a boy. I'm an aunt to 2 children now. Oh, congrats to your sister. And for you, for a second-time aunt.
Jamie, drunk wedding photographer.
Would that have been vibes-based? Yeah.
Hey, Jay, good to see you. Chassis, welcome back. Good to see you again. Hey, Ishko, welcome. Hey, Cecilia, Sovereign, Untraceable, Invisible, or as it were, Invisible and Traceable. Hey, Shelby, good to see you. Hey, Cynthia Burns, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And who else do we have logging in? Milk Tea Alliance, welcome. Hey, Devinx777, Noah Hyde, good to see you. Hey, VJ.
Oh my god, we get it. I don't care about your audience. I care about my audience. And what my audience wants is you to say crazy stuff.
An image of weather control were, well, mainly to the old world, part of our right. So we're going to transition. We talked about strange events last night as the first
I've already transitioned.
part of our double feature, and tonight we're going to be talking about weather control. Weather control has a lot of interesting applications to it, and definitely a lot of relations potentially to the old world or a pre-existing civilization, a previous civilization that may not be recorded in history. Now, even in this opening image of weather control, we're well familiar with the concept of contrails, and if you aren't, we're going to be discussing that a little bit. We're also going to be looking at some other aspects of attempted weather control in the past that have been our favorite term, well documented. And then we're also going to look at some of the other examples of what weather control can be through machinations or devices, and even a possible example of one of the worst weather disasters that may be an example of weather control. Now, I'm not going to suggest or say outright that it is, but there are certain indications that give the possibility that this terrifying event we're going to look at might have been the result of some form of weather control.
You just said it then. Then you said it. You said the thing. You said you weren't going to say. You said it. You just said it.
It is quite an anomaly. We're not going to jump to conclusions, but that's what we're going to be looking at tonight. So there's been many examples of attempted weather control in the past. I'm sure we're well familiar with the whole concept of seeding the clouds. And have you heard of the concept of seeding the clouds and what
Yes.
was the intention behind it? Yeah, I'm going. Can everybody else hear me? Hey, Rebecca Brown, the other Rebecca Brown, good to see you.
He said contrails, which is the actual word for what chemtrails are, because chemtrails aren't real. They're condensation, thus contrails.
Just give me a heads up that you can
Contrails aren't chemtrails. I think he will say it, but he didn't yet.
hear me. Hey, my Bailiwick Zone, thanks for joining us. Okay, just making sure. Somebody said they couldn't hear me, so. In any event, yes, the weather control cannon seeding the clouds. Hey, Kathy, good to see you. And the whole intention behind it was to provide precipitation. Now, there's a lot of debate and discussion that there's never been any attempts for weather control.
When you say weather control, you don't mean cloud seeding. This is the thing that conspiracy theorists are like, well, have you ever heard of cloud seeding? Yes, cloud seeding is a thing that they are currently continuing to try and work on doing and making it more effective. Historically, not so much. But when you say weather control, you don't mean cloud seeding to make precipitation more likely. You mean a fine granular sci-fi ability to, like Cobra Commander's Weather Dominator, definitively choose the weather at any given area at any time, under any conditions, which is not a thing. And the conspiracy theorists trying to act like cloud seeding is what they've been talking about is so frustrating to me.
But would you be surprised to know that during the 1970s, there was an actual U.S. military disclosure concerning weather control? Ah, yes. So would you like to take a look at that disclosure? We'll just go right on over to that and give me 1 second here, because I have to do some switching with the screen presentation here.
You're doing a great job.
East Asia rainmaking. Let me make sure I got it on full screen. And I've got it zoomed in as much as I can. There we go. Okay, can everybody see that well? Excellent. So,
in Dubai just gang seed the fuck out of some clouds seems super effective. They did.
We're just going to review this real quick and then we'll discuss it. What we have here is the Southeast Asia rainmaking. A classified rainmaking program was conducted in Southeast Asia from 1967 to 1972, so about 50 years ago, or the same time that the Saturn V put human beings on the moon, or as we're told, which employed airdropped silver and lead iodide seeding units to increase normal monsoon.
There was an episode of Quantum Leap about this from the newer show that got canceled.
Rainfall.
Already got canceled. Womp womp.
So in summary, what this was another attempt by the United States military in these objectives to increase rainfall sufficiently in carefully selected areas to deny the enemy, and the enemy in this case was the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong, the Ho Chi Minh Trail, their main line of logistics and supplies from North Vietnam to South Vietnam that ran through, oddly enough, Cambodia and Laos, the nations to the west of Vietnam. And their objectives were to soften road surfaces, causing landslides along roadways.
Wow, I'm sorry. His live streams are fucking meandering. Do something that isn't a live stream from him, because he's normally pretty good. Good in the sense that he puts out weird
Welcome
stuff.
to the Restitutor Orbis channel. Thank you for joining me today. About a year ago on the channel in the spring of 2023, we did an exploration called Designs of the Old World, where we looked into the particular designs of these rather erratic French architects, Les Q, pictured here.
Get fucked, French architects. Doesn't understand architecture on the bingo card. Benikagami says, first, we all know Annabeth has Athena's invisibility helmet. It's disguised as Yankee's cap. Second, I've said this before, but conspiracy theorists are convinced they were fantastical tales. Where are my fucking glasses? Jesus Christ. But both real life and real stories told by the masters are way more interesting than their theories. In the real world, a deaf man went on to become the most famous musician in the world, composing his best work after he lost his hearing. He also talked smack to the King of France's face. I need to find my glasses. Holy shit, it's hurting my eyes to try and read that screen from so far away. Oh, that's still bad. My eyes are broken. Cool.
And Bouli. We don't really have a picture of Bouli, but here's a very intriguing picture of Les Q. Looks like he could be portrayed by Thomas Hulse in a movie, and looks quite similar to what we saw of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart in the eponymous film, Amadeus. Regardless, the works of these particular architects are quite intriguing. We're told that these French architects, draughtsmen, or all the other different names that we have for individuals.
I would suggest if you have bags, you unload them now, minty fresh turds, while it's actually up. Good luck.
Individuals who design buildings, because we need to have many different names for them, are considered very eccentric and elaborate. And indeed, this particular sphere here shows us a rather unique architectural format. Now, of course, we're told that these were merely the buildings that existed in the imaginations or the conceptualizations of these French architects. And I suggested about a year ago that...
I'm sorry, is he under the impression that because they did a drawing of it, it must have actually been built? As if architects or designers don't do drawings just for fun or speculative that might not get built?
In fact, these were actually recordings of buildings that may have existed. Now, what's the evidence behind this? I figured we'd go back and we'd actually take a look that this is actually a full archive of the structures that may have remained from the previous civilization. In the drawings that are attributed to Lequeux, we see a great precision in detailing. And if you want to go back and watch the video...
says, oh, Amadeus. Oh, come and rock me, Amadeus.
Video from last year, I'll attach it in the description for this video. But in these images that we're reviewing, you can see that he left no detail.
I think Marantz is saying I'm in shambles over GME. I heard. The Keith Gill situation is very strange, and if it turns out he didn't get hacked and he's actually doing that, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Interesting.
Spared when he was considering the layout for these buildings. For example,
we'll definitely be doing another meme stock video soon over the recent stuff. For those who haven't been paying attention to the meme stock stuff, Keith Gill, Roaring Kitty, came back and tweeted a bunch of stuff and shot the price up. And now Andrew Tate is also talking about GME. It's a whole shit show.
Example, look at the top of this particular structure. And
I would say this. Now's a great time to get out. This isn't advice, but if I was someone who had bought into GME and was getting fucked, and all of a sudden there was an exit strategy that just happened where I could at least break even, if not make money, now would be a great time to leave. But of course, as always, people are going to make their own decisions. And frankly, the meltdowns after the price goes back down are going to be pretty fun.
And we see this ornamental detailing at the top. Is that just from his elaborate imagination? What exactly is with this very tall needle spire here on this part of the structure? It's really unique. And oftentimes it gives the impression that really what we have is simply a recording. That what they were doing is that they were recording what they saw. That this wasn't some elaborate imagination. Now,
again, why is he under the impression because someone drew it, it must be real? I don't even get it. Alright. Sorry, I'm trying to find something somewhat shorter, because I feel like all the stuff I've been picking is pretty long. Before we start this, I am going to use the bathroom.
Title.
So I will return shortly. Be right back. Alright, see you when the price crashes, Minty. I know, the thing about the meme stock people, it makes me sad, because, like, some people right now could genuinely get out and make money, or at least break even, and I don't think they will. I think a lot of them are going to double down, because unfortunately I think a lot of people involved in meme stocks have gambling addiction problems. I don't say that as a pejorative, I say that as concern. I say that as someone with concern for other people. What are you going to do? Tartaria says, BBBY holders watching some of the GME bag holders finally get out. It should have been me!
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
No, you don't understand. Some of the, like, the PP show people think that the rise in GameStop price is good for them. They think that it's related in some way. Yeah. The delusion.
Kepler's relation to the Jesuits. Dr. Jörg Schuppner at the University of Leipzig noted that it is well known that the Order of the Jesuits was the most important and the most active Catholic order in the field of science during the 17th and 18th centuries. One field of particularly intensive, successful...
I'm sure the subreddit's going to be interesting.
...study carried
Best Demon with 400 bits, thank you.
out by the Jesuits was astronomy. Many of their names are associated with the important discoveries in the history of astronomy, such as the discovery and mapping of moon craters. It is nearly impossible to list all the names of those who made serious contributions as astronomers or mathematicians. One aspect of the considerable role the Jesuits played in the history of astronomy was their support of Johannes Kepler. Some of them stood in extensive correspondence with Kepler. Now, it was obvious to protesters like Luther and Calvin that something fishy was going on.
Gitara says, apparently one guy woke up this morning as a millionaire, and even though he could have cashed out, he doubled down and is now losing. What a dumb bitch. Like, I say that, again, I do care about these people, but I'm just thinking in my head, why wouldn't you at least cash out half? At least take out enough. I don't get it. I don't get it. Nemesaur, holy fucking shit, thanks for gifting 20 tier 1 subs! Very generous of you, Nemesaur. Apparently we need to invest in Nemesaur Kolboth gift shares.
Going on in Rome, and the papacy needed plausible deniability while she rewrote our reality. That propaganda was presented by Italian astronomer and mathematician Galileo Galilei, and it's absolutely fascinating what user-edited Wikipedia...
Finding it harder to care about these people? Be careful with that. I know it can get real easy to get callous towards people, but try not to. Terradona with 100 bits kicks off a hype train. Thank you.
Wikipedia says, in the entry for Galileo Galilei under the subtitle Galileo, Kepler, and Theories of Tides, Cardinal Bellarmine had written in 1615 that the Copernican system could not be defended without, quote,
I'm actually, you know who I'm mostly disappointed? I'm sorry I'm talking about meme stocks now, but since it got brought up, I'm genuinely disappointed in Keith Gill. Out of all of this, there was one person I could point to and say, like, they were involved in this, but, like, he just got lucky and he got out when he should have, basically. Cashed his money out and left. And now, if this is really him who's coming back and intentionally inflaming the apes, what a bag of shit. Like, I already thought I might not like him personally, because he's into, like, Finn bro shit. And of course I don't like that. But I thought as a human being, he recognized when to get out and that things had gotten too crazy and too far. And yet, if this is him pumping these fucking people's bags, what a piece of shit. Surprise third act big bad. Anyway.
A true physical demonstration that the sun does not circle the earth, but the earth circles the sun. Galileo considered his theory of the tides to provide that required proof of the motion of the earth. Now, there's no link on the name Cardinal Bellarmine, which is unusual for Wikipedia. Maybe that's because Cardinal Bellarmine was Robert Bellarmine.
So I'm not looking for a man in finance? No. 75% to level 4.
Of the Society of Jesus, one of the most powerful Jesuits of his time, who was canonized as saint in...
Would almost count as market manipulation. The thing is, I don't think it would. Because he hasn't said anything specifically. It's not like he said go out and go buy GameStop, but he is aware that there is a relationship between his activity and the community. So he is aware that as he tweets things, retweets things, likes things, he's going to instigate them to buy, but he's not directly doing something that is saying to do that, even if he understands the clear cause and effect of what he's doing, and he's doing it intentionally. Can you prosecute someone for doing something that vague? I don't know. The implications of that aren't good, but also the implications of people being able to manipulate stocks hundreds and hundreds of % up or down just based off single tweets. That's not good either. So I don't know. Stochastic market manipulation. Not a thing, but is it? Is this stochastic market manipulation?
1930 and named a doctor of...
The SEC wouldn't do shit. I just don't have any faith in the SEC to actually take any sort of regulatory action.
The church. What's more, it is...
Steve with a Q says stochastic market manipulation then?
ludicrous to imagine that the Earth's
Oh, I just slammed my toe between my chair arm and the desk. That feels awesome. I love when I slam my toe. That fucking hurt like a motherfucker, so I'm just gonna take a second and swear that off. Fuck. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Ass. Ass fuck. Ass fuck, fuck. Ass fuck. Ass fuck. Fuck shit. Ass fuck. Fuck. Fuck hell. Fuck damn. Shit. Balls. Tits ass. Cunt. Penis. Okay. I think we're good. I think the pain subsided enough. I think we're okay. We're good. We're good. I can get past that.
Large mass doesn't pull the moon and crash into it, and instead the magical force of gravity holds...
Not magical. Describing something as magical doesn't make it magical. It's demonstrable, it is measurable, not magic.
It's stationary. Even more ridiculous is the idea that the moon affects tides by pulling on the water.
Wait, why is that ridiculous?
Again, the magical, mystical force of gravity is blamed.
Again, it's not magic. Just calling something magic doesn't make it so, just because you don't like it.
South Africa.
Where are my toes? You think I'm gonna show full-on my bare feet on stream while wearing a booby witch costume? I've made it this far, without making it onto Wiki Feet? Not today. Not today.
American author Thomas Winship wrote in 1899 his book Zetetic Cosmogony. If
Thank you, more Alago.
The moon lifted up the water, it is evident that
thank you for the hype train.
Near the land, the water would be drawn away, and low instead of high tide caused. Again, the velocity and path of the moon are uniform, and it follows that if she exerted any influence on the Earth, that influence could only be a uniform influence. But the tides are not uniform. And Winship uses examples from South Africa. At Port Natal, the rise and fall is about 6 feet, while at Beira about...
Why is everyone boring today? A lot of classic, not classic, it's new, but it's a person we know.
And this is a video about how asteroids are fake and gay, and maybe sometimes there is something out there.
Oh no. Sorry, a key came off my keyboard and I'm trying to put it back, but it's the F5 key, so I think I refreshed it. One sec. There we
go. And some comets have big year periods that they know that it's going to use it. This is a video about how asteroids are fake and gay, and maybe sometimes there is something out there that people can use a telescope and...
He did call asteroids gay, yes. He's using it in the way John Doyle or a middle schooler uses it, though. He's using it as an insult.
And see...
You're not even a foot fetishist and you're genuinely wondering how you squished your toe in the chair arm? Gotcha. Okay. So the chair arm is like this, right? This is like at the end of the chair arm, and my toe is this finger, and it was here, because my foot's like cross my lap right now. I have my foot kind of like crossed. I'm at crisscross applesauce right now. So my toe was kind of hanging this way, where this is what this looks like. My toe was here, and then I slammed this into the desk that's right here, and my toe was between the two. There you go.
But
JP Black, thanks for 30 months. Any Evil Gina? No. Evil Gina's been not doing well. She has put out new videos, but like not ones I'm comfortable covering. So I don't know if we'll be covering her in the future unless she has basically a period of lucidity, because she's not doing great.
All the stories that they tell us about it.
She is definitely doing the evil thing, but it's more so just like she's more detached from reality than normal, and I've talked about it on this show. We watch people who believe a lot of pretty out there things, but I don't ever want to take advantage of and use people having like episodes for money. I don't want to be a big piece of shit. Now sometimes there are gray areas that are iffy, but like she is clearly having mental episodes of some kind. I don't know if they're manic episodes or what, but let me put it this way. There's nothing for me to dissect. Like, I like videos where I can talk about the belief and why it exists. If the answer is just, this person is having a severe manic episode and they're behaving incredibly irrationally, that's not fun to talk about. That's not interesting. That doesn't tell me anything about conspiracies or why people believe them. That's exploiting someone with severe mental illness. So, that's the difference for me. Best Demon, thanks for gifting 10 tier 1 subs. Very generous of you. Thank you.
Or completely fabricated BS.
What about regular Gina? She just hasn't put out very interesting stuff lately.
Stories. And it seems like asteroids in particular, it's like a spook story. They want you to think that there's dangerous things floating out there that could crash into Earth and kill us like the dinosaurs. Well, dinosaurs...
I mean, there are. I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable. Unstable Deadbeat says, I very much appreciate the standards you maintain around who you cover and who you won't, Hannah. Makes your streams much more pleasurable to watch. I do my best. I'm trying. MH Dark Beast says, what about Dr. Mumbi? She's always good for a laugh, though they need to bring back the Wake Up Africa song. That was good. Let's see. I actually haven't looked at her in a while. I'll have to look.
Swords are fake too. So let's get into this video. I saw this image on Reddit, and I had a thought. So this is supposed to be an asteroid. My favorite asteroid photo.
Who's Evil Gina? She's another conspiracy theorist we watch that's into a bunch of weird stuff, into QAnon. She's an older woman that just reminds us of Gina, but evil.
Ryugu. You know, the elites, the experts are always handing us photos and extraordinary tales, and we're just supposed to believe everything that they say. And there's no way to corroborate, right? None of us can go out to this asteroid Ryugu and confirm that they're not just handing us some other picture and saying, hey, I went to an asteroid. I guess before I get too sidetracked and all that, I think that asteroids will be relevant when the end happens.
Is good Gina doing okay? It's hard to say. I think she's been all right. I think she has put out a few videos that have been a little less lucid lately. But the good thing about good Gina is that she actually has like a supportive family that I think is aware of her mental health situation and makes sure she's taken care of and stuff. So that's good.
Even if you aren't yet religious, I think everybody should read the Book of Revelation and see what... So you may not believe it's true at the time, but I think everybody should know what the Book of Revelation says about the end times, so that when it starts unfolding, maybe that'll be enough for some people to finally repent and follow Jesus, as they'll notice, hey, everything that the Book of Revelation is talking about is happening. I think it's really obvious that the mark of the beast is on the horizon. But anyways, in the end, the sky's going to open up, the firmament is going to open, and stars are going to start crashing down on Earth, and I firmly believe that they're going to sell it as the aliens are launching asteroids at us. They're redirecting asteroids from the...
That's the premise to Starship Troopers, the movie, is that the bugs start sending asteroids, but of course it's potentially a false flag by the fascist government in order to justify their continued aggressions against the bugs.
Asteroid belt, and they're launching them towards Earth. I believe that's what the media is going to say. And really, it's the firmament...
Yes, this is Project Bluebeam on the bingo card. Project Bluebeam is the conspiracy theory that believes governments of the world will fake an alien invasion in order to create a one-world government. Basically the end of Watchmen. Spoilers for Watchmen.
Opened up, and the end is...
I am dressed as a witch, so congrats, person in chat
Here.
on YouTube. Glad you got that.
So, did anybody else have this thought? Because I had this thought right when I saw that image, and I went to the comments, and this was near the top. If this wasn't a reply to the top comment, it was very close to the top. It's actually wild, this photo. Looks so alien, yet eerily familiar. Something about the lighting just does it for me. And then the troll enthusiast had the reply that I was looking for. Looks like it's underwater. Yeah, this just looks like an underwater photo. And there's like layers. There's layers to that. It's not just, oh, they're deceiving us and they're using photos of underwater to pretend to be an asteroid. There's layers because the Bible tells us that there is water up there. The firmament separates the waters below from the waters above. Okay, let's keep going. I'm just going to go through the slides. I think that this is really interesting. So I just started researching this Ryugu asteroid. And I'm just
sure he's butchering the pronunciation of that.
Show you some coding and some interesting things that they talk about. So
we have not had a bingo win yet. Nope.
One thing, it's only supposed to be 3,000 feet in diameter. And if it takes a mass as big as Earth itself in order to give us gravity, which is...
Oh no. Hans, no, gravity exists between every piece of matter with mass. In the universe, it's relative to the size, but gravity exists even on one particle, right? It's just that it's less powerful or less strong of an attraction than something with more mass.
It's just buoyancy. There's no such thing as mass bending space-time and like sucking things towards it like a vacuum. Earth doesn't suck you towards it. It's just that buoyancy is a thing, and anything that's dense, more dense, is going to go down.
How's that work in space, Hans? How does that work between two objects in space in a vacuum?
Do you know what's hilarious? One of the biggest questions that people ask, whenever you bring up the density thing, they're like, well, then why does something fall in a vacuum? Isn't anything more dense than a vacuum? So it's...
But what would make it go down? Why is the vector downward? Why is the vector always the same direction? What are you talking about? There would still need to be something that causes it to go down.
Still goes down. I really don't understand that confusion. But yeah, there's up and there's down, and more dense goes down. That's all that there is. But anyways, let's suppose that this gravity thing were true. If it takes the entirety of Earth to create Earth gravity, then if there's an object out there that's only 3,000 feet in diameter, that thing's not going to create any gravity.
What do you mean it's not going to create any gravity? Gravity, it doesn't create it. Gravity is literally just a thing that happens to all mass. Mass has an effect on gravitational pull. It's a property of matter. It came with the subscription.
It's going to be negligible. Everything is just going to fly off of it. There would be no gravity, essentially. It would be such a weak force that I do not believe that even if the stories that they tell us are true, I don't believe that an object that's only that big would be able to just like hold on to all of these little things around. I think that it all would have just blown off by anything.
By what? Blown off by what? It's in a vacuum. What's gonna blow it where? It's in a vacuum.
These things are supposed to be spinning and flying and
through a vacuum.
There's solar wind, and it makes
Hans. Solar wind. Isn't gonna all the dust off the ball.
Makes no sense. I don't think there's anything that more interesting. So the bottom here.
You rang?
These are things that they reverse engineer.
Peeplord says, has a conspiracy theorist told on themselves? Not yet.
Clearly want to have this story of like life starts on Earth from like a comet coming in and crashing, and it's like they're really trying to...
Panspermia is one hypothesis. It's not like demonstrably true.
To promote this idea of I don't know, it's like cosmic seeds. Like an asteroid can be like a cosmic seed that goes out and crashes into a barren place, and life starts to form all of a sudden. So that's their conclusion, and then they just walk backwards, and they're like, okay, so what are we going to pretend that we find on this asteroid to further that storyline? And so that's just the bottom sentence here. The sample showed the presence of organic compounds such as uracil and vitamin B3. So whatever. It has been synthesized under cold laboratory conditions similar to outer space from pyrimidine embedded in water ice and exposed to ultraviolet light. So they're just trying to... They have an agenda here. They're trying to...
Their agenda is to try and discover things, Hans, because they're scientists, and that's their job.
Use my science to go like, hey, look, you could have things that you need for life forming out in outer space land.
But what if that's just demonstrably true, Hans? What if that's just demonstrably true?
Vitamin B3, it's also another, oh, you need this for life idea.
Big vitamins out to get us to try and get the proper macronutrients. Liars.
So I think...
Lenin Cat. Oh, yeah, this could be scientism on the bingo card. How about this? No, not scientism, misunderstanding of the scientific method. Lennon Cat says, actually, things accelerate downwards at 9.8 meters per second squared and do that because that's just a thing that is. Also, that's because that's where the magnets are. Also, static charge or something. The New World Illuminati government just don't want you to know.
I think that it's clearly this is just part of the propaganda. This gets talked as a diamond shape. So to me, this looks like obvious CGI, like they're just...
What?
You know, what's the Mario game? Mario Galaxy, where they turn everything into a ball? They just...
Or Galaxy 2.
Like wrap. They make these little tiny planetoid objects in that game. This just looks like, yeah, somebody took a picture of an ocean floor and mapped it to a 3D model that somebody made. It talks about a diamond. It kind of looks like an eye, like there's a depression in the center.
They literally just mean in that it looks like almost like a square but turned. How many degrees is that? 45 degrees to get that? Yeah, that'd be like 45 degrees, I think, in order to get it to a diamond shape. They're not saying it looks like a rock diamond, like a geometric 3D oh god.
But
yeah, he took diamond literally like a diamond that is measured in carats as opposed to the platonic solid that is a diamond.
Yeah, this really should give everybody odd vibes. It doesn't look like real life at all. It looks like just what I said. Like you have a computer-generated mesh.
Believes evidence is self-evident on the bingo card. This is also vibes-based conspiracy, but I think we already had that.
You've just mapped a real photo, probably, of ocean floor, is my guess. And, oh yeah, diamond. Diamond equals 33. This thing gets talked about as diamond shape.
Numerology on the bingo card, or gematria, whichever one's on there.
I don't know exactly where. Brian May gets involved. Brian May from Queen. I clicked on it to make sure that it's the Brian May from Queen. Yeah, Brian May got involved in this one. There was a 33 over here. It went from 33 to 24. It's a rubble pile, allegedly. Here's a cool image.
Hans does homeschool. I don't think he was homeschooled, but I could be wrong.
Just check this out for a while. Yeah, I don't believe that something that is only 3,000 feet in diameter would create, even if gravity were a thing, which I don't believe in.
He hasn't mentioned the dogs as pandas yet now.
Object this small would be able to hold those rocks onto it. It apparently was spinning way faster before. Allegedly, if you just buy whatever story they're selling you. I think this used to be spinning a lot faster. That's why they say it has like a weird diamond shape, because it used to be spinning a lot faster, and I don't know. They always have a lot of stories. I'm just going through and looking for a magical underwater palace. So this was really big. Even the name, Ryugu, has to do with underwater. What do you know?
Not... If he brought it up, it would be Kurreal, but someone else bringing it up is not, because then anyone could get a free bingo space by doing that. So it only counts if he brings it up.
Travels to the palace on the back of a turtle. Interesting. A mysterious box. Much like Hayabusa 2 returning with samples. So that's very interesting. It's young. Only 8.9 million years old, guys. So young.
I mean, in terms of the cosmos, yes? I think the cosmos is like 14 billion years old, thereabouts. So any amount in the millions is going to be smaller than that by comparison.
That's just classic NASA programming, spitting out numbers.
Sorry, I missed a tip earlier, too. Green guy with a $3 tip says, Hannah, I feed dinosaurs every day. They're cute, and the cats like to watch them, and I eat them once a week. They are everywhere, even in the sky. You know, you can just call them birds now.
That are totally irrelevant. It often reminds me of the show Whose Line Is It Anyways? How the only important thing are that the numbers are humongous. Other than that, they literally just pull numbers out of thin air.
I usually get my ideas about astronomy from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
really doesn't matter half the time.
My favorite astronomer is Ryan Stiles.
And then the other half of the time, they just want to say Ma33 or some other number coding. It's not always just 33. Of course, there's going to be people that get more into this gematria stuff and get really into the minutia of really heavily number-coded things. But I think 9 times out of 10, they're just pulling numbers out of thin air, and it's kind of irrelevant to the situation. So there was some interesting stuff in here, so I'm going to just go through. Okay, the images from the camera of Mascot, which is called Mascam. Muscam. The images from the camera, which is called Muscam.
It's a pun on mascot. The portmanteau of mascot and cam. But okay.
Okay. Cauliflower-like, crumbly surface.
13.8, but close enough. I think that's the only time ever where 0.2 billion can be considered a rounding error.
Crystals shaped like coral reefs. So here we have another underwater reference. These crystals likely formed in liquid water. So I guess they're trying to say that there was some talk, oh, maybe Ryugu is an old comet or something. Like comets when they lose all their ice or whatever. And this is totally mixing things. Comets are really interesting. A really interesting astronomical, like in reality, comets are really weird because they act in wacky ways. They look exactly like flashlights being shown underwater, and totally contrary to what they would tell you. There's all sorts of asteroids that are, or not asteroids, there's all sorts of comets that go really, really close to the sun, which totally contradicts their ice nature. And
how close to the sun do you consider very close?
So comets are
also, are you familiar with
an interesting phenomenon, and they
can't get it stuck on every little piece of minutia.
Show signs, and a lot of comets have happened in weird times, and some comets have big year periods that they know that it's going to come back. But yeah, there are some weird things about comets. I don't believe what they say about them, obviously. I mean, this type of stuff, it fascinates me, and then I just know, hey, all truth shall be revealed. Our minds are going to get blown when we all learn about the truth of cosmology, what really is up there. And maybe asteroids are like a star that kind of stopped shining for the most part. And that could be a thing. Who knows?
No, he doesn't believe in comets or asteroids. Or at least not the reality of them. Hydrate.
This was interesting. I just picked this slide because one thing that people, they just take the bait when it comes to the experts, and they totally ignore reality. This is how reality works.
Reality is whatever Hans says it is. MH Darkbeast says, don't let Hans see this, Hannah. Oh no.
They may be unbearably adorable, but they aren't actually bears at all. The latest exhibit at this zoo in eastern China had visitors doing a double take. These pandas are really chow chow puppies, advertised as panda dogs, and social media can't get enough of them.
Look quickly, and there's a resemblance to the rare giant panda.
I assume this is an intentional joke for advertisement and not actually trying to say the dogs are pandas, right?
There's real life, and then we can use mathematics and statistics to model real life. And the model is at best a guess for what may happen. And then that's how modeling actually works.
You think modeling is just a guess? That's a disservice to people who spend their entire lives working on, like, models of things. Jesus Christ.
What the false buying into the science always has the right answer. When science is your religion, models prove reality. They go...
That's scientism.
Go backwards. They do the opposite of what is the truth and what makes sense. What makes sense is you observe reality, you build your model, and you hope that your model does a good job.
What does the space rounding error numerology mean? basically the conspiracy theorist would be like, this number is 65, but that's pretty close to 66, and 666 is the number of the beast, so...
Stunning reality.
When something doesn't quite work in terms of their numerology, but they just say fuck it and say it's close enough.
And then you could do tests to see, is this model good, is it not? But models will always fall.
When you Googled the name those trolls kept mentioning, you found a First Amendment auditor channel, maybe they saw you cover them and got mad. Maybe. Could also be someone, I've also had people before say they were from one channel when they were actually from a different channel, and they were trying to, like, instigate beef between me and some other unrelated channel that I've never heard of. It doesn't matter. Trolls are gonna troll. It's fine.
Short from reality. Because you're modeling it. It's not a complete representation. You're missing all sorts of variables. You're making assumptions. But when science is your religion, they allow that to go backwards. A model proves reality in cases like this. Of course, that's not true.
Not how science works, no.
But I'm just saying.
Falsifiability is what makes science function. If you have a model that's falsified, you no longer have a functional model.
That if you totally believe every pop science thing and take it as truth, you're allowing models to dictate what your reality is. A simulation of the formation was performed.
The zoo was advertised as dogs as zoo animals, pandas and more? Okay. Because the impression I was getting from Western media was basically, these idiots in China thought they were gonna see pandas, but they were just dogs painted. But if that's openly the gimmick, that makes a lot more sense to me. Be wary a lot of media, and I don't like China or the CCP, so like I'm not a tanky, but also a lot of reporting about China comes off as very exoticizing and intentionally tries to make citizens of China seem like rubes. A lot of Western media does that, so maybe like just, you know, check things.
Just a simulation, which showed that the parent body accumulated 2 million. They're going to tell you that they know exactly what happens because somebody made a simulation somewhere. I mean, that's enough.